Hello there. This is James, and you're watching OneRoyal, and it's live. In today's program, I want to discuss who's coming to dinner, or more likely, who's coming to morning tea. The markets ask, what is war good for? And they reply, defense stocks. And as well as that, there is more investment banks getting really attractive or really attracted, should I say, to the yellow metal. But before we get into all of that, don't forget these little videos are for educational purposes only, and in no way whatsoever should ever be taken as financial advice. I always suggest you do your own research and do your own due diligence. And of course, know the risks at hand before entering any trade. With that out the way, let's get started. So, yes, indeed, today, the US and Russia have had their first high level talks since 2022. Now, the meeting was between, I'm going to butcher the names, of course, US Secretary of State Marco Rubio, and Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov. I can't say, I'm rubbish with names. But anyway, this is the very first official sit-down meeting between United States and Russia since January 2022. And we all know what happened the following month in 2022. So anyway, this is obviously, they met in KSA, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. And this was officially the first formal meeting, like I say, in years, and it lasted for about 4 hours. And the idea of this meeting was to lay, the groundwork for talks to end the war in Ukraine. Now, the United States Secretary of Congress said this was really more of a case to feel Russia out, to feel how they are willing to negotiate. Because here's the sticking point, and this is what's got sort of Europe and the world a little bit, had their feathers ruffled slightly, slightly upset about this, because no Ukraine official was present. So really, this was just a meeting between, like I say, United States and Russia to discuss the Ukraine conflict. So, it has upset a few people. This is why we had, for example, the emergency summit, EU defense summit yesterday in Paris, hosted by French President Macron. So everybody gets a little bit upset about this. For one, to make sure they're included, and especially Ukraine and Europe as well, and also to have a look at maybe they need to, increase spending on their own defense. And anyway, at the end of this meeting, they said this is really just the beginning of negotiations, beginning of talks. So, this is just the very first baby step into getting to hopefully the right sort of conclusion that everybody wants, which of course is peace in Ukraine and the end to the conflict. Anyway, moving on to something else, because of all this, especially because of yesterday, like I said at the beginning, the markets ask war, what is it good for? And the simple answer is defense stocks, okay? Defense stocks, because they continue to rise. Mainly driven by the idea that obviously what these talks in Paris yesterday led to was that, a number of European countries have agreed or are looking to increase what they spend on defense. So obviously that, benefits the companies who make such weapons or make such technology. You can really see this in the Euro Stoxx 50, index, because it's hit an all-time high. And we'll have a quick look at that on our charts in the moment. Now, just to give you an idea of, what Monday led to a number of these defense stocks. On Monday, Germany's, again, I'm going to butcher the name, REIT Group closed higher by 17.5%. Swedish defense manufacturer Saab closed 16% higher, and UK's British Aerospace Systems rose by 9%. This is all what happened yesterday. Now, according to face set data, or that should be fact set data, it was the best day for BAE since July the 3rd, 2022. So anyway, let's have a quick look at the Euro Stocks 50, because like I say, this hit an all-time high. Let's pull up on my chart and we're going to have a quick look at it and see what it always looked like. Like I say, yesterday it really skyrocketed, hit an all-time high. It's kept the momentum going today, you know, especially obviously has been at the very first meeting between the United States and Russia and KSA today. So it has sort of carried it on. But in general, European stocks have done fairly well over the last 2 days. If you look at the German DAX, for example, that is up as well. That is traveling high. This is on a daily chart again. Don't forget. And even the FTSE 100, which, you know, is having a good, bad couple of trading days. Yesterday's sort of like, you know, attraction for defense stocks has managed to boost it back up. And it's again ending, it's like it's set to end the second day of gains as well. So yeah, that's with all that. On other news, okay, it's not just about US and Russia, defense stocks. You know, we are looking at a little bit slightly light economic data this week. Yes, okay, we did have the UK unemployment earlier on today, and we'll look at the sterling later, which came in slightly better, 4.4% versus 4.5%. But really, the market is sort of waiting really for the main event happening this way, the main financial event, which is, of course, the FOMC minutes. And everybody's going to be going through this with a fine-tooth comb to try and get hints of what the Fed may do. Now, don't forget, this came out, this meeting was in January, okay, before the last US CPI reading, which we got, last week, so February. So will it give us enough of a hint of what they're going to do? Because let's face it, the CPI came in at 3% versus 2.9%. So maybe even the Fed didn't know or estimated it could be like that. So anyway, we'll have to look at these minutes, and it comes out tomorrow at Wednesday at 9 p.m. GMT. So this is really going to be a key event, and what the market is waiting for. You know, like I say, because this week we have we have a few key economic indicators, again, which I'll talk about a little bit more in a minute, but really the big one is this one. Something else I want to quickly touch base with and talk about, which I always find really interesting, because especially this one can give you sort of like a window into the sort of consumer market, etc. And that is Walmart's earnings is due on Thursday, obviously after the market has closed. Now, this tends to, obviously, Walmart is biggest. It affects Costco, Target as well. Those are very, very big. But this gives us an idea of how the consumer is thinking. Now, as I aforementioned, last week's US CPI came in higher than anticipated, came in higher at 3% versus 2.9%. Are we beginning to see that sort of effect on the consumer? And I talked about again last week in another video I did. I highlighted the price of eggs, for example, to go and show how grocery prices. So we're going to see sort of the consumer get a little bit concerned, and will it show in the earnings report? As well as that, will it show us what the consumers are buying? If they're spending more money on likes of groceries and not, say, like other consumables like televisions, electronic goods, then yeah, there is general concern there. So again, we can all see this in the report, which is due on Thursday. So that's really the big earnings report, that and Alibaba. But like I say, Walmart in particular, I'm interested because I want to have a little peek through the window to see what the US consumer is thinking and doing. On other news, before I move into looking at some charts and looking at the market, how the market's handling, again, it wouldn't be a live broadcast for me if I didn't talk about gold. But there is more investment banks jumping on the gold bandwagon, which is understandable. Okay, with all this obviously concern at the moment, okay, obviously economic concern, tariff concern, things like this, gold is really, really shining. And more investment banks have changed their forecast to where they see the yellow metal going. Now, UBS has changed its forecast for gold to hit $3,200 in the coming years. They haven't committed it to being this year. They say coming years, but they believe it will go to $3,200 in the coming years. Goldman Sachs, they now predict gold to hit $3,200 by the end of 2025. If they're committing to the end of this year by 2025, their reason for this, or their belief behind this, is they're seeing, and there is an increase in central banks building up on their reserves of gold. Reserves of gold. In fact, just as a side note, okay, in fact, I'm doing a webinar on gold, how to, what to look at when you're looking to trade gold, and again, open forum where we'll talk about, will gold go to $3,000 this year? But they believe, like I say, that central banks around the world are building up on reserves, and they have a point, because 2024 again, okay, ended with around about 1,000 tons of gold being purchased by central banks. That's the third year in a row of that sort of level of purchasing of physical gold reserves. So there is clear signs that central banks are building up their gold reserves. So, and this is, from the World Gold Council as well, showing us these numbers. So that is interesting. Anyway, but like I say, more and more central banks, more and more investment banks are all getting in on the gold bandwagon, all saying gold is shining bright. That's likely to hit $3,000 or above $3,000. If you're Goldman Sachs by the end of 2025, if UBS, cover themselves in the coming years. Fair enough. But anyway, let's have a quick look at some of the assets trading at the moment. So let's start off with, again, we've talked about gold. Let's have a look and see what gold is. Gold indeed did rise today during the Asian session. That was down to apparently a drone strike, again, against a Russian refinery, apparently, which sort of made maybe the peace talks going to be a bit more difficult. And it is trading, higher. It's trading around $2,924 an ounce, a little bit off, obviously, where the high was. The high it's got to, a little bit away from that, $20 or so away from that still. But yeah, and like I say, we can see there is potentially quite a keen uptrend with gold on that. So yeah, gold is indeed shining bright. Like I said, I am doing a webinar. So if you're part of the OneRoyal family, you can come along and join me, and it's going to be an open conversation about, where we all see gold potentially going this year. If we have a quick look at the euro, pretty much, like I say, flat. It's at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, nearly 6 days of gains. Today is not having it so much. The British pound, again, favored a little bit better. It's hovering around it is above the 126 level. Obviously got a bit of a boost because obviously that slightly better UK unemployment. If we have a look at Bitcoin is trading around $95,380. This is on a daily again, of course. Like I say, it has a little bit more of a risk-off appetite. This is probably why Bitcoin is feeling the pressure a little bit. If we look at how the US session has so far started, S&P still trading around the all-time highs as well, as so is the sort of NASDAQ, still trading around the all-time highs as well. So there's still a little bit of optimism there in general. Anyway, other things to come this week. Again, like I say, FOMC is really, for economic indicators, is the main one. But there's a couple of other things as well to sort of get excited about. Yeah, Wednesday's UK CPI expected to come in at 2.8%. Thursday, initial claims numbers supposed to come in at 214,000. new people signing up unemployment benefit for the first time, and of course S&P Global Services PMI. But really, it's going to be more about the outcome of these couple of these. Obviously, the first meeting between US and Russia since 2022, and obviously what's come out of this EU summit yesterday, etc., like that, and the FOMC. Obviously. Now, remember, these are live shows. So if you're watching me on YouTube, by all means, jump in with your comments. Let me know your thoughts. Ask me questions, even if you like. If you're watching me on Twitter, similar, I guess you can do that. Or you watch me on the blog. Remember, you can interact with me. But remember, if you're not watching this show live, you can put in a comment, comments below. Let me know what you think, what your opinion is on gold, what your opinion is on this defense, stocks rising quite rapidly over the last couple of trading days. Show me your thoughts or leave me questions, and I will certainly address them in the next show. Anyway, if you're watching me on YouTube, subscribe if you'd like. Hit the notification button so you know next time I'm going live. And if you like this sort of content, you've enjoyed it, you found it interesting, by all means, give me one of these. It's nice to know that you like what I do. Anyway, till next time, don't forget, these little videos are for educational purposes only, and in no way whatsoever should ever be taken as financial advice. I always suggest you do your own research, do your own due diligence, and of course, know the risks at hand before entering any trade. Till next time, every single one of you, trade safe.